In this video, we're going to talk about accents or the use of accents in the Spanish language. En este video hablaremos sobre la acentuación en español. So, accents might not seem like a very exciting or important topic to learn about, but in fact they are quite important because the way that you stress certain syllables in certain words creates the melody of the language. It makes it kind of flow beautifully and it distinguishes different languages among each other. For example, if you take Italian, they have these really strong accents that makes it, easy for almost anyone to create the illusion of having an Italian accent, for example, in English, because you know kind of how to stress the words, and it creates the Italian melody in any other language. Even though, you don't have to speak Italian, but you can approximate it by using the Italian accents. And it is similar in Spanish. The accents might not be as prominent as in Italian, but if you'll know how to use them correctly, you'll definitely sound like a better Spanish speaker. So in terms of accents, we can divide Spanish words into two groups. The first group is a group that follows certain rules. Okay, rules. If you want to know how it is in Spanish, it's reglas. Reglas. And then there's a second group that does not follow rules. No rules. And the second group is pretty straightforward because, okay, I'll show you a word and then I'll explain. For example, the word árbol, which means tree. It has this little line, this little thing written above the word, which in Spanish is called tilde. Tilde. And it shows you where the accent is in a word. So anytime that you see a word with this thing above any of the vowels, then you know that that's where the accent lies. So if I want to read this word properly, I'll read árbol. Okay, so I'll stress the first syllable. I put more strength and more emphasis on the syllable where the tilde is. Okay, another word that I can demonstrate it on is the word exámenes. Exámenes, which you probably understand means exams. So again, we have the tilde written right here, and the tilde shows us where the accent is in the word. So if I read it correctly, exámenes. So that's how you kind of distinguish these two groups, whether it follows the rules or whether it does not. If you look at a word, you're not sure how to read it, the first thing to look for is whether it has any tildes. If it has tildes, that is easy. You just stress the word where the tilde, the syllable where the tilde is. Now let's move on to the other group, which follows rules. And again, we can say that this group divides Spanish words into two groups. So basically we can say that there are two rules. The first group applies, or the first rule applies to a group of words that end with a vowel, an N, or an S. And if you encounter a word that ends with a vowel, N, or an S, you stress the next to last syllable. Next to last. Okay, so if you, for example, take the word mesas, which means tables. First of all, you have to divide it into syllables. So this word right here is pretty short. It only has two syllables, mesas. And then we look for whether there are any tildes there. There are no tildes. That means that this word will follow the rules. And then we look at the letter which it ends on. In this case, it's an S. That means it applies, or it falls into the first group of words that end on a vowel, N or S. That means we have to stress the next to last syllable. In this case, in this letter, or in this word, because it is short, the last syllable is sas, so the next to last is me, which also happens to be the first one, but that's not always the case. So if I were to read this word correctly, I would say mesas. Okay, so I kind of stress, or I put more emphasis on the first syllable, or next to last syllable. Another, let's give you a longer one. For example, examen. Examen. So now if we divide this into syllables, it has three. Examen. Again, we look at the letter that it ends on. It is an N. That means it falls into this rule, or this group of words, and we have to stress the next to last syllable, which in this case is the X and A. So the proper way to read it would be examen. Here we stress the me, mesas, examen. Okay, I'll demonstrate an incorrect way to read it. For example, examen. Okay, so if I decided to stress the E, it would sound examen. And you see how it changes kind of the melody and the beauty of the word. You may have already noticed that I have the plural of the word examen, exámenes, and that it fell into the other category, that it fell into the no rules group of words. And I'll show you how. You already know that this is the rule for the rule words, or the words that follow rules. So if a word ends with a vowel, N or S, you stress the next to last syllable. So if we were to divide this word into syllables, we would have exámenes. Okay, so it would have 4 syllables. That means if this word fell into the category of the words that follow rules, we would have to stress this syllable because that is the next to last. And it would sound exámenes, which, sounds weird and it doesn't really make sense. Why would you have a different accent in the plural of the word than you have in the singular of the word? So that is why, in some cases, you put the tilde there, you write it there, to make, to avoid using the rules on the certain letter, to make it sound more natural, or to make it, have the same accent as the singular form. So this was the first group of words. Just once again, a quick recap. If you see a word that has no tilde, it means it follows a certain rule. Then you look at the final letter of the word, and if it is a vowel, N or S, you stress the next to last syllable. Mesas, examen. Now let's get to the second group of these words that follow rules. And these are words that basically everything that does not fall into the first category. So these are words that do not end with a vowel, N or S. So anything that's not a vowel, N or S, will fall into this second category of the words with rules. For example, the word cantar, which is a verb and it means sing, to sing. Cantar. Okay, we see it has no tilde. That means it follows rules. We see that it ends with an R, which is not a vowel, not an N, or not an S. Therefore, it will follow this rule, which says you stress the last syllable. Last syllable. Okay, so if I want to read it correctly, I will say cantar, cantar, because this is the last syllable in the word. Another word that I could demonstrate this on would be papel, which means paper. Again, I look at the word, it has no tilde and it ends with an L. That means I stress the last syllable. Papel. Yeah, so these were basically the rules. Again, I'll just make a quick recap and then we'll finish with this video. So, when it comes to accents in the Spanish language, we can divide words into 2 groups. Ones that follow certain rules and ones that don't follow rules. The way to distinguish these 2 groups is that you look at the word and see if it has a little line above some of the letters. This line is called tilde, and if it has this line, then the way you read it is that you stress the syllable where the line is. If you look at a word and it doesn't have a tilde, then it follows one of these 2 rules. The way to distinguish which syllable to stress is that you look at the last letter of the word, and if it ends with a vowel, N or S, you stress the next to last syllable. So mesas, examen. If the word does not end with a vowel, N or S, you stress the last syllable, cantar, papel. So that's all. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and I'll see you at the next video.